What
I think
up?
we're ready this week.
What up? What up?
It might be the first time ever.
We're ready before the show started,
That's wow. I'm
which
proud of
is
us.
amazing.
High five.
Incredible. Yeah. This is how
Uh,
it's done, people. Hey, we're professionals now. You know what
you
I
know what I'm
mean?
saying?
We're,
Yeah.
we're
Only
ready.
only go down from here, actually.
Exactly. This is going to be the best show, and the rest of them are going to suck. No? Too much?
So hi everybody.
Welcome, welcome.
Let me say
Welcome.
right on the top, I'm sick.
Mm.
So I'm gonna be clearing my throat, and I guess I can mute my mic when I do that. But live show you like to,
Yeah, no, they got
feel
to
like
hear
it's
the
real. You
whole.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I'll
yeah.
be hacking in the mic a little bit tonight,
There
but
you go. That's what we want. We
I'll
want
be
the
all right.
hacking. We want
Yeah.
the real deal. You
And
know
I'll
what I
give
mean?
it to you. Before I say ask how Paul's doing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe
Like, share, and subscribe.
to
Like,
our
share,
YouTube
and
channel.
subscribe. We've had some really good episodes. I don't mean that from a production standpoint. I mean it from a guest standpoint. Some of our guests,
Clearly.
I know, right? Some of our guests have been just really interesting to talk to, open with us, and just revealed some things that were just really worth talking about and thinking about. We had some good laughs. Go watch if you want to laugh for an hour. Go watch the
Yeah.
Kim Mendenhall episode. Kim
Yeah.
Kim Kale. Go watch the Kim Kale episode. We just laughed for an hour. I mean, that
I
was fun.
think the name of the episode is called We Laughed Way Too Much During This Episode.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to find.
But yeah, some of them you can, you'll learn some stuff,
Mhm.
maybe some revelations about some relationships you're in, or there's all kind of stuff that to gain from riding with us, from rocking with us. We appreciate you guys that have been watching. And
And
our replay audience tends to be bigger than our live audience, but we like all of our audience. All of our audience, we appreciate you.
I think we don't say this often enough. I think we should say it every episode why we have this show in the first place.
That's a good point.
Why do we have this show, Paul?
Well, now that we haven't discussed this at all, nor am I in any position to talk about
We had
it.
discussed it at some point.
It's a long time ago.
Paul and I are pastors' kids, and
Yes.
we know a lot of pastors' kids as well. And growing up as pastors' kids, we recognize that there's a misunderstanding about what it's like to grow up as a pastor's kid, because it's not the same as growing up as a quote unquote normal kid,
Right.
where you're just somebody's kid who's just a regular member, quote unquote regular member of a church. And so we thought we would start this show because we think it's just an interesting conversation to have, to talk about other people's experiences, and to also help enlighten, I think, just the audience on our perspective, but also maybe on how sometimes the things that other people do or say in relation to pastors' kids, what it feels like, what it seems like you're really saying, like that kind of stuff. So
how families are impacted
yes.
by how the pastor's family is treated and stuff.
So we're hoping
and then another thing though,
we're hoping that these conversations will strengthen relationships, really, I think.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But another thing, just adding to your list, Claire, is I think it's a space for us as pastors' kids to dialogue with others pastors' kids about being a pastor's kid, which didn't happen a lot growing up. Very often, especially growing up, the churches our dad pastored, in most cases, he was the only pastor of the church. So we're the only pastors' kids in that church community. And we don't have anybody to talk to about it except each other, but we're siblings. So it's like, you know what I mean? So there just isn't a lot of space for those there wasn't when we were growing up, a lot of space for those interactions. And of course now some of the churches have more staff and stuff like that. So you might have 5 or 6 pastors at your church. So there's just more opportunities, but I think it's still valuable to be able to talk to other people in your situation about what your situation is like. I think it's just valuable for everybody. So so that's kind of what we're after. And some laughs. We want to laugh.
We're going to laugh. And I think something you just said, we were just talking to our guest tonight backstage about when you were talking about the staff. Some churches have, some head pastors have staff and others just don't.
Right.
It's just them.
Right.
And I think it doesn't, excuse me, I think now in 2025, I'm sure like the bigger churches, they're more likely to have just more people on staff just because that's how numbers work. But having a smaller church doesn't make pastoring easier.
Right.
So I wish that everybody could just have 2, 3, 4 people to just help with the load of shepherding a bunch of individuals. Like it's a tough job to have.
There are some cases where, and our guest can speak about this. I don't know if we're going to talk about it or not, but he could talk about it because he had this experience. But there's some cases where there are more churches than there are pastors in the area. So the pastor will have a district,
right?
Where he or
3 churches,
pastor of 2 or 3 congregations.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that division works, but
I think our guest was in that situation too at some point.
And
yeah.
I think he had that scenario at least once, maybe twice.
Well, let's let's talk to him.
Yeah, let's bring him on. Our guest is the one, the only.
Is this what we're doing?
Melvyn Warfield Jr.
Let's put this.
I'm gonna talk a little smack about him before I bring him on.
Okay.
One of our oldest friends, and I'll say our because even though Claire is several years younger than I am, by the time John and I were in college, Claire was just kind of hanging with us, and she was just kind of one of our, in our friend group pretty much, even though she was in middle school. So by the time we could be friends with Melvyn, which was our freshman year, we're in the same class. She was around, right? So so one of our oldest friends, we were in each other's weddings. Like I was one of his groomsmen, he was one of mine. Like we're boys. Like we're, what I'm saying, like if this weren't a YouTube show, I'd say the word, but you know what I mean. We're like boys. It's not just my boy. He's like my, you know what I mean? He's like my boy.
He's your black male friend.
There you go. There it is. That's a good way of saying that. So let's go. Let's bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, Melvyn Warfield.
Woohoo! Welcome.
Thank you. Get rid of that. Thank you very much. So good to be here. Thank you. And Paul, you're also one of my best black male friends as well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Just so you know. Just so you know.
That's funny.
Appreciate it. So yeah, man. Good to see you. You're looking good, man. We just saw each other. It was a terrible occasion. It was at a funeral, but I just saw you a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was talking to your wife for a little while and just about how good you guys look. Both of you. You guys look really good. I mean, also, I was talking to your wife, you know what I mean? Like, but then you walked away and I started, no, but no, Rob and I were talking for maybe 10, 15 minutes about how good you guys look and how the area you're in and perhaps even the church that you're in seems to really be agreeing with you guys as a family. The kids look really good. And, you look healthy and like, you got color in your face and you look rested and all that kind of stuff. And I'm saying this because I was there when that wasn't necessarily the case.
None of that is true. It's all smoke and mirrors. None of that. I wore my wife's makeup that day. None of that is true.
So it seems like it's going well. So
yeah. I mean, Robin, the thing about her, she ages backwards. Like, she's only like 2.5 years younger than I am. But I always feel like I need to let people know that we're actually very close in age, so it doesn't look, you know what I'm saying? Because she literally looks like she's like 24, and
it looks like she hasn't aged since you guys got married. And you guys been married what now?
It'll be 18 years this year.
18 years. It does not look like she doesn't look like that at all.
Wow. She doesn't. She can do whatever she wants,
and she also doesn't look like she's been married to you in particular for 18
That's also
years.
true.
That's very impressive.
She doesn't. And then she's had. You know what? She doesn't look like she's been married to me. But she also doesn't look like she's had 3 kids.
Right.
In 2 years, she had 3 kids in 2 years. Like that math.
You should explain
impossible.
that. You should explain that. I just feel like you should explain how.
We know how.
I mean, we know how, but
what's that split like?
So the twins came.
There you go.
Right. The twins were born 2011, and they were born early, like all twins are. But they came real early, so they came at like 29 or 30 weeks or something, and they were in the NICU for like 2 months.
Wow.
So they were supposed to be born in December. They got here in October.
Wow.
Beginning of October. And then 7 months after they were born, Robin was pregnant again. 7 months. We'd only had them home for 5 months, mind you, because they were in the NICU for like 2 months.
Wow.
So we'd had them home for like 5 months. And then she was pregnant again for the second time. and we had Mark. And it's just, and they're all very close. The twins now are 13, Mark is 12. Um, and couldn't think of it any other way now. But at the
Right.
time when you have three, like when we
In
moved to
infants.
Durham, because they were all born in Nashville, when we moved to Durham, the twins were 18 months old, Mark was 2 months old.
Jeez.
And it's like how are you going to manage all this? How are you going to juggle all this? But now we wouldn't have it any other way. And they're all super close.
So I have to start with the questions based on what you're saying. And I don't even think this question is one of our questions, but
all right.
We decided not to ambush you, so I don't know what Claire's doing right now.
I mean, it's fine.
No, because I really do want to know how you did that. And I know that sometimes you're in situations where you have to do it. There's no you don't have a choice. You have to do it.
Yeah.
But I want to know if there's anything that you learned growing up as a PK that you used to help you during that situation. Yeah. Or if there's anything that can prepare you for that. I mean,
nothing prepares you for the all-out assault of having three kids in 2 years. Nothing prepares you for that. But I will say, people will ask us all the time, like, how'd you do it? And we would just say, you just do it. You don't think about it.
You can't.
You just do it. Yeah, you're not trying. Every day when you wake up, you're not like, how are we going to do it today?
You don't have time because somebody's crying.
No, you don't. You wake up and you're like, all right, you got bottles, I got bottles, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
You change him, I'll change them. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't think about how you do it. You just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask the Lord to give you whatever strength necessary every day to get through it. And I mean, it was tough. It was tough. You don't really realize how tough it was until you kind of look back at it. But there were some difficult days trying to manage 3 babies at the same time.
Were you near any family at the time?
My parents had just moved to Nashville. So my dad was retired by then, and my mom accepted the position of superintendent of education for South Central at the time. And so they were there. Now, when the twins were born, it's crazy. When the twins were born, my parents were away in Africa on a mission trip. Robin's mother had just left the day before to go back home because we had the baby shower on Sunday. She left Monday, and then we were in the hospital on Tuesday. So when the twins were born, it's crazy. When the twins were born, it was literally just me and Robin together.
Wow.
And honestly, that was the best thing that could have happened. There's something about it just being the two of you. You don't have a whole lot of other people around. You don't have to manage all these other people that want to be in or want to be in the room, or they want to make sure that it's just, when it was just the two of us, it was just peaceful. It was scary because it was all an emergency. It was happening so fast.
Yeah.
But it was great to do it that way. So yeah, maybe something that from childhood, my parents are older than you guys' parents are. So my dad, if he was living, my dad would be 85 this year.
Oh wow.
And so and my mom is younger than he is, but still of a different generation. So the way we were raised, it was just kind of, you do what you got to do. You don't sit around, you don't whine about it, you don't complain, you just do what you got to do. That was that generation, do what you got to do. And so maybe that's something that I drew from childhood, is just, we're not going to sit around, we're not going to worry about it, we're just going to do what has to be done. We'll sleep when we die, and we'll
maybe
we'll do what we got to do.
But that was less. You talking about learning that from your parents, and but that was less. That wasn't really about your dad being a pastor. That was just your parents being of that generation.
That was just them being of that generation, right?
Yeah.
From a pastoral standpoint, from being like a PK, nothing prepared me. Nothing prepared me for that.
And I'm trying to think, how could it? Like,
could it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Did you guys know you were having twins before you had twins?
We knew.
Okay.
When we found out we were having twins. I had to preach for alumni weekend that year. at Oakwood. And so we found out on Friday. We're driving down from Nashville to Oakwood. We have a doctor's appointment on the way. So we stop by the doctor on the way to Huntsville. We find out we're having twins. Robin is losing it because we're in there and they like do the ultrasound or whatever. And I'm like, what am I looking at? Because I see these two, like, I know how science works, you know what I'm saying? So I was
Right,
like, I
right.
see these two little things, and she was like, there's two. And I was like, what? Like, I was quiet. I shut down. Robin is screaming in the room. She's like, shut up, shut up, shut up. I can't. Like, the people outside are laughing, like everybody's dying. We come out of the room, the people that are in the waiting room are dying when we walk out. And then
Did
for
they
the
hand you some
next
money or some diapers too? They just
Right.
laughed at you.
Y'all help the cause or something? Give me something.
Just a handshake and a pat on the back, like, good
Gift
job.
card to
Good
Toys R
luck.
Us or something.
Like,
Like,
you're an overachiever. Way to get the job done. So
Mhm.
we got in the car, we drove to Huntsville. I'm silent, like, I'm saying nothing. And Robin is calling like every person known to man. She's telling everybody. And I called my mom and she was like, oh, okay, well, praise the Lord. And I'm like, I don't want to
they're
hear
right.
praise the Lord right now. Like, we about to have two kids. I was planning on one, like two messed
Right.
up my whole thing. But and I had to preach that night. I'm preaching Friday night. I stand up at Oakwood Church, and of course, at the time, there's so many of these great pastors that were still living at the time. So I think Elder Bradford was there, and like Elder Brooks or somebody, and of course your dad is there, and Dr. Allen is there. All these people that I kind of look up to, and under normal circumstances, seeing that many preachers in the room would be kind of unsettling. And I remember, this is the only thing I remember from that night. I don't remember the sermon, nothing. I remember standing up and as I'm making remarks saying, mentioning all these greats that are in the room, and then saying, believe it or not, this is not the most terrifying thing that's happened to me today. Like, I don't remember anything else, nothing else. So
Wow.
that's how we found out.
Wow. I'm trying to see if I can find it on YouTube. I'll drop the link.
I don't think it's on YouTube.
I don't think it's on. No, I don't think it is
I don't
either.
think it's on. I think I have it on DVD around here, but I don't think it's on YouTube. I think my kids were watching it the other night.
That was 2011, right?
It was.
Yeah.
So while Paul's searching for that, can you tell us a little bit about, like, do you have any siblings? Where do you...
I have an older sister. So
Okay.
there are only two of us. I have an older sister. She's almost 5 years older than I am. And she's the principal up at Pine Forge. So it was just two of us. And with that kind of spread, and then this boy girl on top of that, while we are close, there was still kind of a little bit of a distance because she had her own friends. So when you're 12, you're not trying to hang out with your 7-year-old brother. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That kind of thing. So I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time by myself as a kid growing up. But they're just two of us, and I'm the youngest. Yeah.
So did you feel or experience, because you're the only boy?
I am.
Are you named after your father?
I am.
Okay,
junior.
so you're a junior.
And I have a third, Melvyn Warfield III.
Were there any pressures that you felt growing up to follow in your father's footsteps as the boy of the family, as the junior of the family? Because you are a pastor.
I am.
And your dad was a pastor. So
I am.
do you feel like, did you feel any pressure at all growing up to do that?
That's a funny question. So I'd have to answer it kind of two ways. So I never felt pressure from my parents ever to go into ministry. My parents they just wanted me to know Jesus and to love him for myself. They just wanted me to be saved. They would say, you can do anything you want, just be saved. Just be honest, be saved. And they told me, don't do this for us. If the Lord calls you to ministry, wonderful, but don't do it to make us happy. We'll be proud of you, whatever you do. They said, now, if you do it and you're not called, you'll be miserable.
Right.
And if you don't do it and you're called, you'll be miserable. So,
right.
whatever it is, whatever this is going to be, make sure that you're doing it because you're called. So no, I never felt pressure from my parents ever. But you do feel some degree of pressure in church, because
Right.
church members have an expectation that either, like, even before we get to the ministry question, church members had an expectation that you're your father's son. You're going to be perfect. You're going to do everything right. You're not going to make mistakes. You're not going to, like, I remember one time, um, we were living in California. My dad was pastoring at East Palo Alto. Some kids were in one of the rooms. It was like Pathfinder room or something. And there was like popcorn all over the floor. I didn't put it on the floor. So I'm like, I'm in there, and the elder comes in and he's like, "You kids pick all this up." And I was like, I didn't do it. So why am I picking up popcorn? I didn't do that. He was like, "But you're the pastor's son. You're supposed to lead by example." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, if I'm 7, I want to do the same thing other 7-year-olds
Right,
do. Like,
right.
there's nothing supernatural about me as a child. Like, I'm 7 or I'm 8, whatever age I was, and I'm like, I want to do the same thing other 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds are doing. So there was always that pressure, because members kind of felt like you are the representation
Right.
of your father. And then as I got older, there was that pressure of, are you going to be a preacher like your dad? I can see it. You're going to be a pastor just like your dad. And I did not want to. I did not want to. When I was a kid, when I was really young, I wanted to do it because, and I don't know if you guys ever experienced those feelings, but I wanted to do it because my dad was a pastor. So, and my dad was a really animated preacher. He would hop up and down behind the pulpit, and they had this podium in the lobby of the church. And if I was there during the week with my dad for whatever reason, I go in the lobby and like grip the sides and like hop up and down like I was preaching like him, because I wanted to do it because he was a pastor. As I got older, preteen, teenage years, I was like, nope, I ain't doing that. No, no, sir. No, I'm not doing that, because I'd seen how the stress of it affected my dad. I saw how sometimes members could, and there's no better word, sometimes they could just be abusive, not even just mean, it was just abusive. The things you would see them put your father through, or, one time somebody called the house, my sister picked up, and they went off thinking that they were about to talk to my dad, and they're just cussing clean out, and it's like my sister on the phone.
Wow.
So it's like, those are the things. And I was like, no. On top of that, they don't get paid enough.
Correct.
They don't get paid enough.
Yeah.
I didn't own a pair of Jordans until I was a grown man. My kids, Robin and my kids bought me my first pair of Jordans. Like, they did not. I wanted a pair, but we couldn't afford that. My mom is a teacher. My dad is a pastor. No, you ain't getting Jordans. You're getting Jordache. You're getting Jordache. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to Foot Locker. You're gonna get these shoes from Mervyn's, and you're gonna like it. Like, that's, we weren't. So I was like, I don't want to do it. And yeah, high school is where I started to kind of settle in, but initially I did not want to. I did not want to. Sophomore year, we had this mock trial, and I was a prosecuting attorney, and man, I came alive. Like, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And so end of the year comes, 8th grade graduation. I'm going to Tucson Junior Academy by then. We lived in Tucson, Arizona. I'm going to Tucson Junior Academy, only goes to 10th grade. So that year, at the end of the year, 8th grade graduation, they also say goodbye to the 10th graders. And they ask the 10th graders to come up and say what you plan on doing with the rest of your life. So I'm W. So I'm at the end. Everybody says what they're going to do. They're going to be teachers, engineers, doctors, whatever. They come to me, and I was like, I don't know.
Good for you.
I don't know.
Good for
That was
you.
a great age to not know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm 15, but here's the deal. I kind of felt like I was called to ministry by then.
Even then?
But I did not want it at all. So I was like, I don't know. My mom, we're on the way home in the car. My mom turned around. She is the educator. She turns around and she was like, you could have said something. You could have said.
It don't have to be true.
That's
Just say a profession.
Right.
Just say something. I was like, I don't know. because I didn't want to accept that. I didn't want to acknowledge that. I didn't want anything
So
to do with it.
can we just unpack this a little bit, because you have a 15-year-old brain. So let's start there.
Right.
I have
Why would
a
you ask a
15-year-old brain.
15-year-old what they want to do with the rest of their life?
What
But
do you
whatever.
want to do for the rest of your life?
You have a 15-year-old brain. You know that there's something you don't want to do based on what you've seen and experienced. But then you
Mhm.
have this feeling.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about how, this is such a weird scientific question,
Ask.
how your brain probably tried to rationalize why you shouldn't do the thing that you felt like you should be doing.
Right.
Like your young teenage brain, like what was going on up there?
And like I said, it's a really good time to not know. So I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
15,
I mean,
you
15,
probably shouldn't know yet.
You
Right.
really don't. Your brain is still cooking.
For sure.
It's got another good decade or more to go.
Got a good decade, yeah.
Solid decade. Solid decade. And I just I wasn't sure. There was tension in my brain between this calm. The only way for people who ask me, how did I know I was called to ministry? I tell them the only way I can describe it is there was a calm, quiet conviction. Like there was just the nagging feeling. I never had anything crazy, no dramatic moment, car didn't flip over 12 times. Like, there was nothing that made me feel, there was no great event that told me I'm going into ministry. It was just this calm, quiet conviction. So there's the conviction on one end, and there's the desire to just do what I want to do. I don't want to do this. I just want to do what I want to do. And I like law. And so I guess the rationale was like, if you don't want it, don't do it. Like, shouldn't you be happy doing what you want to do? Like, if you don't like it, if you don't like the idea of church ministry and the tension and the stress of it all, just don't do it. And it wasn't even like a real in-depth conversation with myself. It was just like, dude, if you don't like it, don't say that you're going to do that. At the same time, don't disappoint your parents. So don't get up there and say you want to do something else, even though they'd already told me it didn't matter. There's still the pressure of everybody looking at you like you're going to do this. You're going to be a pastor. And I was just like, instead of acknowledging something one way or the other, I was just like, I don't know. I don't know.
All right, we got to take a commercial break here in just a second. I want to ask you one question. It's kind of
joking.
Yeah, it's 5:30. I mean 6 o'clock.
Okay.
30 minutes.
This shocks me every week.
I mean, because the conversations are good, so you don't look at the camera, you don't look at the clock, and you look up it's been 30 minutes. But I do want to ask you one question before we go to commercial, and it might be a question you have to think about. That's why I want to do it right now. What was dating like for you as a PK, and then again as a single pastor? Because you were professional before you were married, and there was a little gap there where you were kind of looking.
How many years were you a pastor, like a single pastor, before you found Robin?
Before we started dating, before we got married, before we started dating, I was in ministry like 6 years.
That's a long time.
That's a good long time because every church has an auntie with a niece and so and you had a few churches.
Grandparents got granddaughters, all of them. Yeah.
So I want to hear a little bit about that right after this commercial.
All right.
So here we go. This episode of Club PK is brought to you by Bethesda Bubbly, the only champagne and sparkling wine supplier that forces you to eat a stale cracker every time you take a sip.
No longer do we have to celebrate like the world celebrates. Now, we can pop a bottle in the name of the Most High.
Have you recently found a single gold coin that you had misplaced?
Are you preparing to dance in the streets after a glorious victory in the name of the Lord?
Is your son returning home from squandering his inheritance while living in a distant country?
Then stop by Bethesda Bubbly and pick up a case of champagne or sparkling wine. Each bottle has a few drops from the actual pool of Bethesda in the Holy Land.
Just mention Club PK, that's CLUBPK, after you fall to the ground and then regain your strength near the register, and you'll qualify for 12% off your first case of the good stuff.
That's right. Just mention Club PK, that's CLUB PK, after you fall to the ground and then regain your strength near the register, and you'll qualify for 12% off your first case of the good stuff.
Bethesda Bubbly. Pop a bottle in the name of the Most High.
Stupid. It's so dumb.
That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Again, just super grateful to our sponsors.
Yeah,
just really
appreciate in the name of the Most High.
It said you have to eat a stale cracker
every time.
He said when you fall to the ground and then regain your strength.
Regain your strength.
I intentionally don't watch those again before we should play them.
That was my first time seeing
I never remember what they are when I play them.
That's good. That's just good. That's just good.
That one, Claire and I work together on all kind of stuff, and the way we write, at the end of it, you usually can't tell who came up with what. In this case, I know for sure this was Claire's idea. That was definitely.
I'm sorry. I thought you were 100%
Claire's idea.
I did not write that stale cracker line. I did not write that regain your strength line. I did not. I would remember that. That was you.
It was a collaborative effort.
It's a collaborative. Bethesda Bubbly was your idea.
That might be true.
Bethesda Bubbly.
Oh boy.
Actual drops from the pool of Bethesda.
And to be honest with you, that's what happens when you actually read your Bible, because there's so much stuff in the Bible that you can make funny.
There's a lot.
It's a lot of content in there.
There's a lot.
It's a lot of content.
Which is the next question I'm going to ask you after this, the dating thing. So talk about dating just a little bit, both as a PK when you were a kid, and then also as a single pastor.
Right. So I didn't really date until I was like at Pine Forge.
Okay.
And dating was always a little bit difficult. I've always been a really nice guy. So, and back in the 90s, this is the 90s, right? So, at the time, I remember girls would tell me I would marry you, I wouldn't date you. And I was supposed to take that as a compliment.
I've had one girl say that to me before.
Right. It meant that you're stable, that you're a good man, but I want drama right now. Like
right.
I want the bad boy, and then I want to introduce you to my mom.
Right.
And so that was a little tough. And then there's the tension internally where you also have all of the same feelings and hormones and everything that any other teenage boy has, but you're also the pastor's kid. So you're trying to navigate all of these feelings. It was very difficult early in ministry because I started pastoring when I was 21, 22. I had my first church when I was 19, but that's another story, right?
Oh.
You were like a junior, right?
That's crazy.
It was actually summer of my sophomore year.
So not even junior yet.
In Texas, a really bad car accident. He's laid up after surgery. So Robert Lister, quick story. Robert Lister asked me, I was at Southwestern at the time. I'd left Oakwood, going to Southwestern for a semester because my parents lived in Texas. Called me and said, would you pastor these churches for the summer? So we're talking like May to September, June to September, something like that. It was a district out in East Texas, Jefferson and Marshall, Texas. And I was there.
Wow.
And it was the craziest thing. I turned 20 while I was there. So,
wow.
But it was tough because there are a lot of people who have mothers, who have daughters, and try and hook you up on the slide. Like, my daughter's having a rough time. Would you come talk to her?
And you go there and she's got on short shorts and like
whoa, wait a minute.
a half shirt, and like she's 18 and fine.
Not the conversation I thought we were gonna have.
Right.
And then grandmothers got granddaughters, aunts got nieces. There's somebody I want you to meet. They're inviting you over for dinner on Sabbath. Come on, Pastor. And I'm single, so I'm like, okay, it's a free meal. And then you get there and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't know that we were gonna be sitting next to each other at the table. What's this?
And then I'll say this for you because you can't say it. You've also got the trifecta, right? Tall, dark, and handsome. I mean, literally.
Well,
And can sing too.
and could sing,
Well, used
talented,
to. Now it's a little.
the quadrifecta.
it's a little, it's a little
Yeah.
sketchy. It's a
No,
little
but literally
sketchy,
the
but
trifecta, right? What are you 6'6" or 6'7"?
yeah, 6'6", 6'6".
6'6",
So
so tall. You look at his complexion, right? You know what I'm saying? Tall, dark, and handsome. It's literally that's the formula.
it was very
And then
uncomfortable.
educated, well spoken, all the things.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable with this conversation right now.
Paint the picture for our audience because
The
if we're talking about
picture is
dating,
painted. The picture is painted.
I want
It's painted.
to make sure they get it,
There's
Melvin.
no more space on the canvas. The picture is painted.
I just want to make sure I gotta say it for the people
They
in the
got
cheap
it.
seats
They got
because yes, I listen to you preach every week.
Oh man.
But no,
Oh, man.
but I mean, it's another but it's something that you can't say, but it's something that we have to consider. It's another layer of I don't know what it is, a layer of something, a layer to consider, another potential
Yeah,
barrier to navigate. The fact that
right.
you're just eligible, and
And
then
then you have to consider where I am, right?
yeah,
I have 2 church districts
right,
in Georgia. Um, so the challenge there is that there aren't a lot of eligible bachelors.
right,
So it's like you're one of the only ones in the area.
mm-hmm.
And they would come from there were people that would drive down from Atlanta to my church. Um, and it was uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable. First district, one of the young ladies came to my door and she's holding a phone in her hand. She was like, um, can I use your phone? And I was like, Can I come in and use your phone?" And I said, "No, but you have a phone in your hand right now." And she was like, "Well, my phone's dead and I need to use a phone. Can I use your phone?" And I was like, I know where you live. You literally live like 5 minutes down the street. And she was like, "Yeah,
Go
I
use
know, but
your own phone.
go use your own phone." And she was like, "No, but I really need to use a phone right now. It's an emergency." So I said, "Tell you what, you can't come in, but I'll bring my cordless phone to the door and you can use my phone outside." And she got mad. And she was like, "Why it gotta be like all
Because
that?"
her
And,
plan was
she flipped
unraveling
out.
before her eyes.
She flipped out. And she was like, "Fine, forget it." And she left. And I was like, "Okay, so that's how ministry started for me." And I'm like 22. So it was very difficult. At the same time, I felt very isolated and alone
Mm,
because I'm in Warner Robins in Americus, Georgia. Then they moved me further southwest to Albany and Blakely, Georgia. And there's nobody in this apartment but me. Um, and I felt like all I had was church members, and they were all great. I love my members, but that wasn't my personal life. And
hmm
I felt broken at one point because I was just like, I can't do this because I had no friends in the
Mm,
right,
area.
right.
So yeah, that's something
mm,
in ministry they don't talk about that you got to prepare for is those feelings of isolation, loneliness, whatever.
mm.
Was there any experience growing up that was similar to that could have helped you potentially anticipate that? Did your dad have any small districts like that while you were growing up, anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My dad had districts. He- by the time I was born, he didn't really have small churches,
Okay.
but he would have like a big church, and then they would give him like this tiny little church that needed attention somewhere. And so I was used to going to two churches. I knew what that was. It wouldn't My dad wouldn't go all the time. He might go be at the large church like 3 times out of the month, and then the small one he might go once a month. And that's where I really kind of learned ministry with my dad, visiting members. He made me like his elder almost. So I would be the one, we would walk in. It was this tiny little church and it was very traditional. So we walk in together from the back of the church. We like walk down the aisle together. I'd sit up there on the rostrum with him. I'd do scripture and the invocation and the offering, and he would preach and I would do the benediction. Like I learned all of that with him. So there were things about childhood that kind of prepared you. There was a lot about being a PK that prepared me to do what I do.
hmm
Um, because I had a great example of what
hmm
pastoral shepherding was.
Right.
I watched my dad do it. And he would bring me in with him. So I'd make hospital visits with him. I would, if he was going to take somebody communion, I'd go with him. So I learned all of that watching him and learning from him. And the whole idea of being in a district out there by yourself, it doesn't prepare you for the loneliness, but it prepares you for the work.
Right.
It prepares you for the work. Yes.
I kind of have a related question that I also wish, now that I'm thinking about it, wish we had asked our guest Bobby from our last episode too, because a part of our conversation from our last episode, we were talking about like, who do you talk to, who can you trust, and that kind of thing. So we're kind of talking about you dating, we're talking about relationship, we're talking about loneliness and isolation. Was it difficult for you to make friends as a PK? Like, did you feel free to just trust people who you liked enough to get close enough to be their friend? Also, you're an introvert, so I don't know, just how does all of that work? Like, I don't know, how does all that work?
Yeah, being a PK, I loved it and I hated it at the same time. Kind of a love-hate relationship. I definitely loved it more than I hated it because I love my dad. But yeah, the making friends was hard because I'm an introvert. Adrian, my older sister, Adrian, is the extrovert. She's the social butterfly. So she always had a bunch of friends. I didn't. And partially it was, who can you trust that's not just trying to get close, that's not just trying to be in with the pastor's family. The other part was, I'm an introvert. I don't put myself out there. And this is the 80s and 90s. So they moved pastors far more frequently. There was more of an itinerant lifestyle in the 80s and 90s than there is now. So literally, I was moving every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize really until the last couple of years how that has affected me long term, because I have developed the ability to detach very quickly. Like, once something's over, it's over. Like, when I can kind of cut something off and just move on, because that's how I did growing up. Um, I've been I've been in like 5 schools by the time I was in 6th grade or something like that. Like, it's stuff like that. Um, so we moved around so much that making friends was difficult, and I didn't realize that I needed friends or was missing friends until high school. I realized probably around 8th or 9th grade that I did not have a best friend. I had friends in school, because by that point I'd been in the same class since 4th grade. Bakersfield, California was the longest I'd ever lived in one place. I was there from the middle of 4th grade until the end of my freshman year in high school. So that was when I realized I don't really have a best friend. Now, the other part of that is it's Bakersfield, California. So until like 8th grade, I was the only black child in my entire class.
Wow.
And that was all of my elementary school. That was 1st grade through 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade. I was the only black child in my class. And that presented its own challenges. So it was very difficult for me to make friends. And I realized how much I was missing that. So Pine Forge for me was a good experience in some ways. It wasn't all positive. But
and for those who don't
in
know,
that
Pine
regard,
Forge is a boarding academy.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
In Pennsylvania.
So boarding academy in Pennsylvania. My dad was from Philly, so I was close to family. And yeah, but trust and moving so much did make it difficult to connect with people. It did.
Yeah. It's gonna blow your mind, but it's actually time for our random trivia question.
It can't.
It is. Look at the clock. Yeah. There's some questions on here we're not gonna get to, but I gotta do this. I'm gonna do this one here in a minute. But first, random trivia. You ready?
No.
Good. It's perfect. Okay, here it is. I know you're a big fan of feature films, and at one point we were competing with the DVD collection. You were always winning, but I held my own. I'm
You
proud
did hold
to say
your own. You did
I held
hold your
my
own.
own.
Yeah.
but you're better than me at collecting DVDs, which I can literally only say to one other human being on Earth. I feel like I'm the second best ever, but you're the best.
Yeah.
I'm the LeBron to your Jordan.
All right.
Hello.
Anyway, so I know you're a big fan of feature films, and I know you love music. So here's actually it's kind of a mixture movie music question. Okay, here it is. What current member of the Marvel MCU
Universe
had a short stint as a pop singer? Somebody who's alive in the Marvel MCU right now.
Someone who's alive.
So it's not like Robert. What's his name?
Right. It's somebody.
Right. It's not Robert Downey Jr.
Alive.
He's dead. Yeah. It's not.
Well, he's dead in one.
Captain
Anyway,
America.
whatever.
Somebody's alive. Somebody who lived through Endgame.
As a pop singer.
As a short stint as a pop singer.
Man, I don't know who that is. I got no clue.
Okay.
I got no clue, and I'm gonna be enraged when you tell me who it is.
You're not gonna be enraged.
I'll give you a clue. It's a female.
Well, I figured that for some reason.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I do kind of. I don't know, man.
Is that sexist? That we assume it's a woman? Because I would assume it's a woman too. If you're,
I feel like when you say pop star, that feels feminine to me too. For some reason,
pop star just feels
feminine and female are not the same thing.
Okay.
Justin Timberlake was a pop star.
I rest my case.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
We all love you, JT. I don't know.
You want to take a guess or want me to tell you?
Man, short stint as a pop singer.
Singer.
Go ahead and tell me.
The answer is Captain Marvel, Brie Larson.
Wow.
She had an album called "Finally Out of PE" in 2005.
And she did a music video in the mall or something.
Yeah. Her album is actually on Apple Music.
I did know that.
It's called "Finally Out of PE," which is a terrible title.
It's horrendous.
Is it a bad title for 2005 though?
2005.
It's a bad title for any time period
at any point in history.
It doesn't matter.
All right, I have a backup random trivia that I think you'll get.
I don't know. Now I'm
this was just movie.
Right.
Okay, here it is. What are the 5 Ds of dodgeball?
You're an idiot. You're really an idiot.
Oh man!
I know you love that movie. I know you love that movie.
And I can't remember what they are. It's like duck, dodge. Oh man, I can't remember the 5.
Duck and dodge are correct.
They are.
Watch that now.
Those 2 are right.
Oh man.
3 more, kind of.
Dude, I can't remember. Oh man. Is dive one of them?
Dive is one of them. Yep.
Dive, duck, dodge. Duck is like 2 of them. Is it?
That's close.
No, it's
one of them is twice, but it's not duck.
So dodge is twice.
Dodge is twice.
Yeah. Dodge, duck,
so that's
dive.
4.
I don't know.
You got dodge, and you said duck, and you said, what's the other one you said? Dive.
Dive.
So there's one more.
I want to say dash, but it's not dash. I don't remember. I don't remember.
The last one is dip.
Dip. Yeah.
I don't remember the sequence. I don't remember the order, but dodge is first and last. So it's dodge, and then it's like dip, duck, dive, dodge.
Yeah. I love that movie.
Why are there 5 Ds of dodgeball? Why are there just 4 Ds of dodgeball? I don't understand why dodge has to be.
Look, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
If you can dodge traffic, you
can dodge a ball.
Oh man.
Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not even in the document.
I am.
I want to get through all 4 of these questions.
That's gonna be hard. Let's do it.
Let's quick fire.
So let me do this.
Wait. Before that, Claire, this one.
I don't know where you are. Oh.
So we were talking a little bit. We were talking earlier about how there's room. There's a lot of room for comedy in the Bible, and you and I are huge
Idiots.
jokesters and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
telling
Mhm.
jokes, whatever, and making fun of famous people and impersonations, blah blah blah. So when we were in college, sometimes you would threaten after you had decided you had accepted your calling, you're going to be a pastor. This is your career goal now. You're a theology major. You would threaten to, and I see you know where I'm going with this. You would threaten to have just really creative sermon titles,
very creative
for
sermon
later
titles.
when you got out there and you were pastoring. Now I never saw you follow through with any of those. Now, of course,
I have not.
I've never been a member of your church, so it's possible that I missed it. But
You did not.
there was
You
I feel
one.
like okay.
You did not
There
miss
was-
it. I have not
Okay.
preached that sermon on Balaam ever.
Okay.
I have not.
Do you want to
What
tell
was
us what
that
the title of
title,
that sermon was going to be?
I'm not gonna say what the title is. It's just it has to do with the fact that his donkey was talking, and the title was "Shut Your Donkey Up."
It
So
was
I don't
not.
think I don't think it
not
was.
the title.
It was, but it was close. It was in that.
It was the King James version of donkey.
It was the
is what it
King
was.
James version of mule, donkey. Yes.
That's
It was,
funny.
and it
Why-
had everything to do with if he had just done what the Lord told him to do, he would have been able to shut his donkey up. The donkey wouldn't have had to talk in the
Right.
first place.
Right.
So, you know,
The question. So the question here is, why did you chicken out?
why did I chicken out? Man, and it wasn't. And real talk, it wasn't even chickening out. It was just knowing what is clickbait and what's appropriate and
Right.
what is going to detract from the strength of a message. While I had fun with it, at the end of the day, you don't want to be a stumbling block for anybody. And so, as much fun as it was like, no, this is going to be a problem for whoever hears this sermon.
That's
and
so
I
funny
don't
because I'm
want it to be.
imagining you right now preaching that sermon in Warner Robins, Georgia.
Oh my goodness.
Man.
That would
They're gonna
not
run you out of
have gone
town.
over at all.
They would have. They would have.
Oh,
They
my
would have. Elder
goodness.
Mendenhall would have heard about that sermon immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
While I was
I-
still preaching it, he'd be getting
Right.
phone
Right.
calls.
And the crazy thing is, I think there's value in that actual message. I think the message makes sense.
Yeah, the message makes sense. The title would have been.
The title would have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have
It
been
would have
printed in the
hindered the
bulletin
message.
and everything.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah. It would live on forever. It would live
Oh,
on
my
forever.
goodness.
Yeah, no, I never preached this sermon.
All right. Let's try rapid fire. Go, Claire.
So I really want to do this. So
Go ahead.
the first time I heard you preach, I'm gonna just be honest, I couldn't take you seriously because
It's the same voice.
you joke around the
Same
same way
voice.
that you preach. But
Yeah.
so I had heard you joking around before I heard you preaching.
Yeah.
So while your depth of study has changed as an adult, hopefully, while your depth of study has changed,
It has.
your delivery hasn't really changed.
Mm.
And it's interesting when you were talking about your dad and how like he had antics in the pulpit. I'm like, you got antics in the pulpit too. Now I haven't seen you
Yeah.
jump around,
No.
which
That was
if you
him.
do that, that's fine. But I'm just saying I haven't seen it to that degree. But when you were younger and you were preaching, so before you had any churches and you were younger and you were preaching, were you being authentic then, or were you mimicking something? Were you trying to play it apart, or was that real? I wish we had a clip of
Yeah.
Melvyn preaching
That's
right
an
now.
interesting question because I would agree and disagree at the same time. Yeah, my
Mhm.
depth of study has definitely changed. I've been pastoring for 23 years now, so it has changed, but there has been a steady evolution of my preaching style over the last 23 years. And Robin would tell you there's been a definite change in how I preach. And it really wasn't when I was younger. I think all young preachers are trying to find their voice.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I wasn't mimicking my dad because I didn't sound like him. I wanted to, but I
Mhm.
knew I couldn't sound like him. My dad was this guy from the street in Philly. Like that's just who he was.
Mhm.
And I have more of my mother's personality. So I think early on, I was just trying to find my voice, and you think that that's what your voice is.
Mhm.
And if there's a degree of success, and I thank God that there's always been a good measure of success in my ministry, and I don't take that for granted. I don't think it's because of anything great I've done. God has just blessed my ministry for 23 years, and in the early stages, you're still trying to figure out who you are. There started to be a definite shift after Nashville in Durham. Durham was a real healing process for me, and I can talk about that another time. But it was a healing process, and I started to feel comfortable in my own skin in
Mm.
Durham. And the more comfortable I got in my own skin, my preaching style changed and evolved even more. Um, and so yeah, it wasn't mimicking, it was just trying to find your voice. And every pastor you'd heard, every preacher you'd heard,
Right.
it kind of soaks in.
Yeah.
So even when you don't know it, it's just coming out from the sheer influence of the different people that you've heard. And so eventually you just got to find your own voice, and how it comes out of you.
That's interesting. My current pastor, W. R. Snell at Oakwood,
He might be the greatest of all time.
He's fantastic, but he talked
Yeah.
about this, and you've seen him evolve too, right? Like which should happen, by the way. Like you should evolve, whatever your profession is.
You want to
You
grow.
should grow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, so he talked about this, and I don't remember how long ago it was, but within the last probably 6 months, he talked about exactly what you're saying, and how all of these different experiences and all these different people he studied under, all these different pastors he's had, all the different people he's heard preach, have all imprinted on him in different ways.
Absolutely.
And he actually enumerated like 4 or 5 ways he copies other people without trying to. And he mentioned, Dogged and whoever, right? E. Cleveland and whoever the names are. So so that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's just natural,
right?
It's that part of you that is, it's the admiration. You admire these people, and
right.
It just comes out.
Yeah.
Where did your idea for Grace Points come from? Grace Points is, for people who don't know, what is it? 5 minutes?
It's about 5 minutes.
It's like a 5-minute. Is it weekly too?
It was before church really got rolling again, but it was a weekly, kind of digital devotional.
That's great. Like a 5-minute digital devotional. Yeah.
Yeah. So it started because I came to CPC, where I am now. I came to CPC in the beginning of COVID, and I was virtually installed. So I was pastoring in Oakland. My installation was virtual. The doors were closed. The church was not there. And for the first 2 years of being here, I had no congregation except for online.
Wow.
So I came in, and like I was meeting with staff in person, but I wasn't meeting the members. So Grace Points was an opportunity for me to engage with them in the middle of the week. So it was every Wednesday in the beginning. And it was just a way for me to encourage them during the week. It's COVID. Nobody's ever experienced this before. And I'm trying to figure out how to pastor them, how to shepherd them digitally. So it was another touch point in the week. And Grace Point has always been in my mind. Like I've wanted to name a church Grace Point. Like Grace is the primary focus of my theology, my preaching, my ministry. It's grace. Grace is the pervading thought in everything that I do. So Grace Point was what I initially wanted. I was like, man, if I could start a church, I'd call it Grace Point or Redemption Point or whatever. So that's what I called the devotional, and it took on a life of its own. Gave me the opportunity to do the verse of the day for the Bible app like 4 times. And it's just been a blessing. I just recorded one today, and started editing that process. So I do it all here.
You do all your own production?
I do all my own production. I write it, I record it, I edit all of it. So that's my baby. And now it's on, at least it was. I don't know if it's still on it, but it's on like the Hope channel, like in the morning, like Wednesday mornings, something like that, Wednesday, Thursday morning. So,
and also if you want to see it, go to CPCSDA on YouTube.
On YouTube,
you guys have like a Grace Point playlist on there, I believe.
there is. There are like
You can
60
see
of them,
some.
60, 62, 63 of them.
And they're really good. And I always found it, I appreciate that skill, being able to say a lot without using a lot of words.
Short period of time, yeah.
Yeah, it's not
economy
an
of
easy thing
language.
to do. Yeah, but you actually do it really well. So before when we were backstage before this episode started, you were showing me something that's to your left, and I was like, "What in the world is that?" So
this is my stress relief. Lego is my stress relief. So when I'm really stressed, I build these. This set has like 3,000.
How long did that take you?
To him, that doesn't even look like Legos.
This took me. I started Sunday and finished yesterday.
So wow, this week. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? That's not what I thought you were gonna say.
No.
Wow.
I started Sunday and finished Tuesday.
Wow.
And just
do the kids help, or is it like daddy only time?
This is daddy only.
Wow.
And that set had like 3,011 pieces or something like that. It's the Endurance, the famous ship. So that's my stress relief. I have in the sunroom, I have a whole wall of sets that I put together. I have another couple sets over here. I have sets in boxes that I took apart when we moved. It's a stress relief. I loved Lego as a kid. And then I got away from it. You get old, you're not playing with that stuff. So my sister-in-law bought me a Mini Cooper for Christmas when we still lived in Durham. And I got really stressed and I just sat down and put it together. And I was like, wait a minute, there's something to this. Like I could just kind of block out the world for a minute and just focus. And that started it. It snowballed. And I just started buying sets. And I have sets still in boxes. And I don't have space to put them up, but two, I wait until the stress level is high.
Until you need it. Yeah.
And then I'll open up a box, and for 2 or 3 days, I'll carve out 2 or 3 hours a day, and I'll just sit there and I'll listen to music, or I have Law and Order or something playing in the background on the TV, and I'm just putting it together.
Did you get that DeLorean?
Yeah. No, I didn't, but I shall. I shall.
I'm having a memory come back to me because I'm wondering, did you ever think about being an engineer ever? Do engineers put stuff together?
I didn't. I've always put stuff together, but I never thought about being an engineer. I just always liked working with my hands.
So there was this one Sabbath when you guys were at Oakwood. You guys came over for Sabbath dinner, and my parents had just bought me a desk. I don't know if you remember this. And you went up to my room and put the whole desk like we ate dinner and everything downstairs.
I remember that.
You would not come down until the desk was put together. And it was like an intricate, all kind of random pieces. I'm like, when I look at it now, I'm like, why did I buy that? Or why did they buy that? And it lasted me until it's probably still together now. The only reason why it's not here is because it wouldn't fit in the truck.
Yeah.
I moved from here to from Chattanooga. So it lasted a long time, but like you put that desk together for me and you just sat on the floor and didn't get up.
I love it.
Until it was done.
It's fun. Yeah. I love putting stuff together and I like being useful. And that's the other part is the introvert in me. So when I married Robin is an extrovert from a family of extroverts. And when they get together, it's just an explosion of people and sound and I would just volunteer to do stuff. They needed something done. I'd be like, I got it. And I'll just go sit off to the side. And I'll just put it together or whatever they need while that's being done. And so no, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Nice.
We're out of time, but I want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
This is the last one, probably, depending on your answer. We're boys. You know what I mean? Go back.
First of all, the way you're starting this question lets me know.
We're going on 30 years.
This is a long time.
Yeah, we're going on 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really curious, and see, in all this time, here's the thing. I mentioned before that I listen to you preach. I don't listen every single week, but most weeks I tune into CPC. I go to my own church and I'll come home and I'll watch like 2 or 3 other services, and I like preaching. So I listen to you preach, and for me, it says a lot that we're old friends and I can still listen to you preach. No, it does. It says because if there was some stuff
Yeah.
Like if there was some stuff, I would know it, and I wouldn't be able to listen to you preach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm able to listen to my brother, who I've known literally, my entire life, and some other guys, and I went to school with Debelier, and like all these guys, like a lot of guys with the really high character guys that I've known all these years, and I can still listen to them. I think that says a lot about you guys, a lot about your character.
And praise the Lord.
With all that being said, there's always a streak of rebellion in everyone. It's right, just part of the fallen nature. So what did rebellion look like for you? I know you sometimes you do some creative things with fake swearing and stuff like that, and at least, I don't know if you still do that, but you used to.
I used to in college. No, rebellion for me in ministry looked like, I grew my hair out for a long time. I had twists.
I remember the twists
because I was just like, I did. I grew it out. I had twists. I was just trying to figure it out. It was like, I don't want to be locked into whatever this is. It would come in a lot of different forms. I know I went through a stint of just listening to a bunch of hip hop like all the time. And if I pulled up to the church, this I'd have to be careful, like what I was listening to pulling up on church grounds. Like, whoa, wait a minute, turn your stereo off. I mean, you go through all sorts of things. Yeah, that's what it looked like for me. I mean, now that's what I mean by when I turned, I don't know, it was before I turned 40, but I tell everybody when you turn 40, you get to a place where you don't have to make excuses for being yourself. You just are who you are. And I am at that stage where I am who I am. And I think the rebellion before was not rebellion against ministry, it was rebellion against people's expectations, against feeling like I was in a box. I never wanted to be like everybody. I wanted to be myself. I loved bow ties, and then I was in this area where everybody wore bow ties, so I quit wearing bow ties. I had all these bow ties just hanging up in my closet because I didn't want to look like everybody else. Um, so I just didn't want to be in that mold of the same thing everybody else does. I want to be different. And now I'll be 46 this year, and I'm like, this is me, and I'm very content to be who I am. I always wondered if there was space for introverts in ministry because it seemed like ministry was really about being an extrovert, and that's not me. Um, and now I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't have to make excuses for being young. When people think, "Oh, you're young enough to be my son, my grandson," all that stuff they tell you early in ministry, I don't have to apologize for being who I am. I'm grateful because I know out of the billions of people on this planet, God ordains different types of people in ministry so that we can reach some. You know what I'm saying? And I know at this stage, I've accepted that I'm not for everybody, and I don't have to be. Before, you have this notion that you have to be for everybody. I don't have to be for everybody. Everybody doesn't like peanut butter. Everybody doesn't like chocolate. Everybody doesn't like vanilla, but somebody does. And if I can reach the some that that are that can kind of latch onto my form of ministry, then I'm content. So I don't think the rebellion part, I think that's when I was in my 20s. Now I'm just like, I am who I am.
And on that note, if you're out there listening and looking for a church home and you're looking for like a pastor who really, and this is what I value, who like you could Bible, studying it, and
it doesn't always happen though. You're chuckling, Melvyn, and you know this too, but it doesn't always happen. We can't take for granted that the pastor studies the Bible.
Correct.
Which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's the only textbook you have for what you're
doing. I mean, seriously.
Right.
Yeah. Seriously. It's really unfortunate. But
for that, check out I want to say CPC, but what's it actually?
It is
Community Praise.
Community Praise Church. In Arlington, Virginia. They go live every Saturday at 12:30.
12 o'clock.
Every Saturday at 12.
Great music.
We do. We have amazing music.
Your band. Oh, we didn't even talk about
your band is amazing.
We have amazing music.
Literally the best in the game. I don't know how that happened, but they're amazing.
That's another conversation. We have incredible musicians.
Yes.
And they're just great people.
Yes.
They're great people. So
love that.
Yeah.
If you want to test it out, go check out a Grace Point episode. on YouTube at CPCSDA. There's all kinds of things for you to
we got good stuff over there.
For sure. All right. So thank you so much for your time, Pastor Melvyn Warfield
Absolutely.
Jr.
It was my joy.
If you have a minute, just hang out backstage for just a second.
I got you.
We're gonna put you backstage and we'll another quick commercial. We're gonna close out and we're gonna come talk to you for just a second before we go.
Yeah, man.
All right.
I love reading books that help bring me closer to God, but once I put the book down, it's sometimes difficult to take the principle I just learned and apply it to my daily life.
You know, sometimes something similar happens to me after leaving church. I go to a great service and I feel spiritually fulfilled by the music, the preacher, the fellowship, but I don't always know what to do next.
To help solve this problem, we've created a unique resource to help you live your life with God more fully.
The God is a Person workbook includes additional practical steps and challenges that can be done individually or with a group. They are designed to help bridge the gap between the decision to live with God and starting a lifestyle of living with God.
Each practical step also includes access to a short video where we give further encouragement and insight.
Visit cpnix.com or Apple Books to order your copy today. That was a good conversation.
I'm really tempted to say our show's too short, but an hour is good. But
An hour is good.
we're
but
never actually done
Yeah.
when it's over.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about this at the beginning. This is kind of a unique space, right? We don't usually have these conversations.
Yeah.
So in some cases, we're talking about things that you might not have ever talked about before, and it can be. And then also we're talking to grown people, so that you have a complicated history and all that kind of stuff. So, but very, very interesting. I'm glad we had him on.
Yeah, that was good.
Busy.
Yeah, that was good.
Let me say this too. You said earlier that it was difficult for you to take Melvyn seriously at first because it's so much time joking, and we've heard the same I don't know if that's a criticism or not. We heard the same comment about us CP Nix, because we spend a lot of time laughing and joking, and even on this show we do 2 commercials and one of them is clearly made up. so the second commercial, which is a real commercial, sometimes you might be thinking, is that real or is that one made up too? Well, I assure you the second commercial is always real. The commercial right before the end of the show is real. We do have a series of books that we've written. We do have a website. We do have services for helping services. And by services, I mean services. I don't like not like church services, but like,
services. I think is fine.
Yeah, we'll come and help your people do stuff. We've done it before. We'll do it again. This is kind of the purpose of our company, CP Nix, is to really try to help people make their relationship with Christ practical. Like you want to get to know a person,
practical and personal. Yeah,
practical and personal. So our book is called God is a Person because God is a person. Right. So it's really about what kind of person is God, right? Let's get to know him. The personality, that kind of thing. So those second commercials real. There is no Bethesda bubbly. Please don't go trying to find wine with drips of water from the pool of Bethesda in it. If you're not to find it, you will not be successful.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah. So, all right. Anyway, that was fun.
Yeah,
I always enjoy these conversations. I don't know who's up next, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. We're back in 2 weeks. Find out.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Thank you.
And check out our books. cpnix.com.
Thank you for joining us.
You got the bottom thing going there. I didn't even notice. Well done.
Yeah, I just kept it up there. I was on it today. I just wanted.
Yeah, you were paying attention. That was good.
Yeah. So hopefully I can do that again next time. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody, guys, for tuning in, and see you next time.
Bye.
Peace.